very famous alumni. Over the years, TISS is well known for its contribution through research in social work, social sciences, human resources management, health systems. They even introduced a course called the Secular Ethics for Higher Education Credit Course. Current courses range from graduation and doctoral degree courses to short-term programs in the areas of social work, management and labor studies, health systems, development studies, education, habitat studies, disaster management, as Edmund knows very well, human ecology, media and cultural studies, law, rights and constitutional governance. Now, Darshana here is an expert in human relations, having graduated in psychiatric social work from TISS. She has undertaken intensive training in personal counseling training and development and undertook intensive training in transactional analysis. I'm cutting into Darshana's speaking time now, so I applaud her and pass the mic into her capable hands. Go on, Darshana.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much, Amy, for the wonderful, wonderful introduction. And to be introduced by a childhood school friend, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much, Amy.
To me too. Go ahead.
So I'm also very happy to be addressing such an august audience, because Amy tells me of all the wonderful work which you all have been doing. And I am so touched by that. I'm so touched by that. In fact, just this morning, she was telling me that you all are sponsoring a lift for a Bangladeshi hospital, which is a cancer hospital. I mean, this is just one of the things which you all are doing, but it is just amazing. It's very, very touching. And for me to be addressing you all, it's a great honor. So thank you very much. And before I go on and on, let me start with the topic. My favorite topic, of course. Amy asked me what I would like to speak on. Without hesitation, I said, I want to speak on emotional intelligence. Now, why is it my favorite topic? And how does this topic originate? Let me tell you all about that. But once again, a short introduction before I start. You know, emotional intelligence is a word which is used very, very commonly nowadays. And you will find tons of material when you Google, there's an information overload. So I am definitely not going into legalities. That's just not my style. What I will go into is what emotional intelligence means to me and the application of it. Because I have always been pro application and no theory. Theory, as I said, abounds everywhere. So now, without undue delay, this topic. Again, I do not want to go into any academic definitions, but I would like to start with a yoga prayer. You know, I do my yoga every morning, and we start with a prayer, and that prayer is so apt for emotional intelligence. It describes it and defines it and surpasses all other definitions for me. So, what is this great prayer I'm talking of? It's very, very, very simple. It says, our self development is possible only if we maintain a balanced state of mind all the time, all the time, all the time. Should I repeat this? Maintain a balanced state of mind all the time, all the time, all the time. Yes, we all have our ups and downs in life. So, how is it possible? But that's the challenge which emotional intelligence brings about. And yes, I have not only preached it, but I have also practiced it. Difficult? Yes. Impossible? No. So, let me tell you more about it. You know, when I was a parent, my son was in school. Today, my son is 24. So I'm talking of so many years ago. And when we used to send him to school, when we used to interact with other parents, what we found is there was so much of competitiveness, not just among the students, but amongst the parents for every single mark that a child attained in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. And I was so disturbed by these happenings. And then I used to try to convince the other parents that all this is not the be all and end all. They would think that I was crazy. And they always equated success with marks. I just couldn't do anything to convince them at that time. But I'm really happy to say now that we have made a wonderful progress in this. I couldn't do anything because I didn't understand how to explain it to them. And that is what we are talking about. What is IQ and what is EQ? You all know IQ is intelligence quotient, EQ is emotional quotient. And then what's the difference between the two? We have always been worshippers of IQ as a society in the whole world, isn't it? And anybody who didn't have a high IQ was thought of as not being able to succeed, nothing will happen to that poor person, and all these things. We are a far cry from that, thankfully. And the man who has coined all this is Daniel Goleman. He has coined the word emotional intelligence. In fact, there is an article by Daniel Goleman, which was printed in a newspaper, which says, forget IQ and recruit EQ. Now, this is something revolutionary. How can one forget IQ and recruit EQ? But again, if I go back to my HR days, I worked a lot in HR, human resources. And every conference that I attended, there was the same discussion. There are so many graduates, there are so many MBAs, we are interviewing them. We are not finding people employable. We have a huge population in India. All of them succeed. They might even be gold medalists. But what is surprising is there is no connection between a gold medal and success which a person attains in the corporate world, which is what we are seeking ultimately. Where does that gold medal take you? You just take a gold medal in an academic institute, and if you cannot succeed in the open world, then how do we stand? Where do we stand? So people were struggling with this concept. HR was struggling with this concept. And then here we have Daniel Goleman who says, forget IQ and recruit EQ. So of course, EQ has gone a long way. There are so many tests to find out how emotionally intelligent you are. But it doesn't mean that if I am emotionally intelligent by, say, like I have a quotient of 50, I cannot increase it. I can increase it to 100 also tomorrow. Unlike IQ. IQ can be increased to a small degree. That's what I understand. But EQ can be increased drastically. And we have seen people, haven't we seen people maturing? That's what the common phrase is. This person has matured, this person is successful. So that is what EQ is about. The very, very good news is you can increase your EQ manifold, and you can help other people also to increase their EQ manifold, to help them to be successful. So it's ultimately not the gold medal, but the X factor is the emotional intelligence. So we really thank Daniel Goleman for this. And to prove this fact, again, I am not going to go into technicalities. I am going to give you real life examples of how emotional intelligence has impacted my life, and how, because of understanding of emotional intelligence, I could succeed in overcoming my obstacles and difficult situations. Let me go back to my son. I will keep on going back and forth on this. Let me just give you an example. Well, there was an incident in which I was organizing an event for my building, that is my housing society in which I live in. We had been organizing it for the past 30 days, let's say, and we had chosen two boys as an anchor. All was going well until the last day when the parents of the two boys had a tiff. And then one of the parents said, "We would not allow our child to be the anchor." Now, can you imagine the emotional intelligence of the parents? I leave you to understand that. We are at the nth hour, we do not have an anchor, and this is somebody who's just backing out. Well, to tell you the truth, this boy who backed out didn't want to back out. So he came and told us, this is my parents and I can't go against them. But I really understand. I would have loved to do it, etc., etc. So who is more emotionally intelligent? The parent or the child? Obviously, the answer is the child. So emotional intelligence doesn't go with age or maturity. Anybody can be more emotionally intelligent than another, irrespective of caste, class, age, gender, education, qualifications, gold medals, anything. So now what happens? Let me come back to this incident. My son was out of town. He came back the very same day when we got this news. And I shared it with him that I am without an anchor and the show is in the evening and I really don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. And my son said, "Mom, don't worry. I will step in." I said, "How will you step in? You have just returned. You do not know anything about this show." He said, "No, Mom, just leave it to me." I was very anxious, but since it was a building program, I said, "Okay, I will take the risk. Let me sit down with you and explain everything." Once again, he said, "No, no, 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 I don't need you to sit down. Just let me sit down with my friend who is also the co-anchor and we will work out everything. And you go ahead with all your other preparations, which you're so busy with." My son was about 17 to 18 years at that time. So we went with that. And yes, I can say very proudly that he did a wonderful job in the evening and we received several compliments for it. Well, so what am I trying to say from this example? Let me share with you that my son is not an academic success in terms of academic definitions of grades, marks, gold medals. No, he is an average student, probably with an average IQ. But well, maybe thanks to my psychology background, we have brought him up in a way which encompasses all-round personality development, which we have paid emphasis to more than just the grades and the marks in the school. And that is why I got this success. And there, of course, are so many more stories like this. So I suppose you're getting a hang of what is emotional intelligence. I felt that my son had the confidence to step in at the nth hour and to take the show to its heights. And this is rare. So this is self-confidence is a key factor in emotional intelligence, right? Thereafter, what happened to my son? He went ahead, he graduated from a very nice institute, a hotel management institute, because he said that he wants to be a chef. And after that, there was something in his mind where he said, "No, this is not my calling. I want a career switch." Now, once again, I was at my wit's end. We had lots of financial issues in the family. He was getting good offers, good job offers, and he was from a premier institute. But he stuck to his guns, despite my disagreeing with him. And he said, "No, this is not what I'm going to do. I don't know what else I'm going to do." So what did he do finally? Well, he said, "Right now, I am just thinking of playing snooker and I'll see if I can be a professional snooker guy." He was going for snooker. He was just going to the club and he was interacting with people there. There was a person there who had started a startup company. He was interacting with him. And this person was so impressed by him. He just told him, "What are you doing? Why don't you come to my office and join?" And that is how he has joined the startup, where he has completed a year today very successfully. And he is very happy. He is not an academic success. At the moment, he is not even an economic success. But yes, he loves what he's doing. And I hope that he is on his way up. So, again, emotional intelligence, the first step was confidence. The second was taking the risk, having the courage to give up very lucrative job offers, to give up a career which he had chosen earlier, but he felt, no, it's not my calling. So, again, this is emotional intelligence. So, I hope you're getting the hang of what emotional intelligence is. I'm trying to give you incidents so that you get a flavor of it. Now, this is my personal side. Let me come a little bit to my professional side. I have been a soft skills. I've been a counselor, and I have so much of experience behind me in all these things. I can give you so many incidents. What we always say is our personal life should not affect our professional life. But is it always possible? Yes, I have tried, I have succeeded, but I have also failed. It's not that success comes every time. So I remember a very significant incident. I was going to a training institute of a very famous corporate house. I had delivered successfully many programs. This was one more. I was faced with adverse personal circumstances at that time. And I went ahead with the training program, which was scheduled, thinking, no, I can do it. But unfortunately, it didn't do well. I was not a success on that day. I failed. Now, what happened after that? I was feeling very embarrassed because I had a good track record and I had messed up that day. I remember talking to the principal of that institute. We had a chat. And you know what he told me? I want to share this with you, what he said. He said, the elephant also sleeps. Wow. I mean, this is an incident which happened decades ago, but I remember it as if it has happened yesterday. And it was a compliment paid to me in spite of my failure. And I would credit him with the emotional intelligence at that hour, which I did not have when I delivered the training program. So once again, are you understanding? The principal of an institute, he never criticized me. He saw my track record. He praised me. He encouraged me. And I went ahead and delivered other successful programs. So this is what emotional intelligence is all about. On my side, acceptance. Accepted that I have failed. Accepted that I couldn't maintain a balanced state of mind, which I should have. I was getting paid well for this assignment. And it bombed. It could have impacted my career. Well, emotional intelligence also says we are only human, and I couldn't maintain that balanced state of mind all the time. So I think if we are able to maintain that balanced state of mind, 70 to 80%, then we are still far ahead of a lot of other people. So this is on the professional side. Let me give you another example of the professional side, since you all are all professionals. I was working for a pharma company and I just couldn't get along with my boss. There were lots of major value conflicts and differences. We needed the money. The position was good. I had a car. I had an offer of a house. Everything was fine. But every day I would come home and I would cry with my husband. And my husband would say, "What is this? You are not happy. So what are you doing? Do something about this. I am not insisting that you continue with the job." I didn't know what to do. It was a very difficult decision. Once again, I had a mentor. I think one of the things about emotional intelligence is good to have a mentor. And a mentor can be in a personal field, in a professional field, anywhere. So this was my mentor from the professional field. And I spoke to him, and again, what he told me is a sentence of his emotional intelligence. What he told me is, Darshana, you have to die only once. If you're going to that job and dying every day, you please think what you need to do. That was the day I came back home and I wrote my resignation, and I gave it the next day, and I was feeling so good about it. So again, what was the emotional intelligence? Taking the risk to give up such a good job. Having the confidence that I'll be moving ahead with my life with other good offers also, and other avenues and other options which can come, because I myself have the competency inherent in me. I am capable, I am competent. So why can I not get better offers and move ahead in my life? Why do I have to be stuck somewhere? Whether it's a difficult relationship, it's a difficult job, it's anything which you don't like my son said, a career which he's not happy with, can we not move ahead? So a similar example is, at the moment I am doing a lot of counseling sessions, and there is a client, and she is coming to me, and she is telling me that she is in a relationship for 3 years. She's not very keen to get married to this person, but she doesn't know if she will get something better if she will leave him. So, emotional intelligence doesn't say what if I don't get a better job? What if I don't get a better partner? It doesn't say that. Emotional intelligence says, yes, I will be able to move on and I will get something better for myself. And I have to get out of things which is causing me unhappiness. So, do you see how emotional intelligence is linked to both your personal as well as professional life? And it is only when you are happy that you will be able to be successful in the profession as well. How can an unhappy person deliver in the profession? So IQ probably helps you to deliver in the profession to a certain extent, but EQ takes care of both the personal life as well as the professional life. I can continue with so many examples. Very personal example, but since you're all in this social work field, I will share this with you. This is an incident which happened 4 years ago. It's very personal. My husband was in the terminal stage of cancer. He was in bed, and I was spending a lot of time looking after him, rather all my time. I was very tense, very anxious. You know what it is to be like when your husband is in the terminal stage. And can you imagine what happened to me at that time? I myself got diagnosed with cancer. Now it was such a big blow to me. And I have to handle all this on my own. My son was just in college. And I really don't know how I managed it all. But I told myself I have to. I just have to. So I went ahead with my surgery. Yes, I had my family. My sister-in-law was here, luckily. She was a blessing and she helped me with all this. And I was able to manage all this. Of course, I lost my husband very unfortunately, but I had a very successful surgery. Now, one more factor before I leave this incident. After my surgery, I couldn't speak because it was a thyroid surgery. The doctor was a very renowned surgeon, but it had touched my vocal cords. Now, when the doctor realized that this is what has happened, he was also very upset. But he said, it is possible that you will speak again. And I was telling him, no, doctor, it's not possible. It will happen. I will speak again. And I was so positive that I have to get back, I have to be normal, that I think that was what really helped me to stage a comeback. I would not have been here in front of you speaking like this if that had not happened at that time and I had not had that courage. So, where does that courage come from? It doesn't come from IQ. Of course, it comes from EQ, your ability to be positive and say, yes, I will bounce back, even in a crisis situation, which could be a matter of life and death, a matter of whether I'm able to speak or not speak. It is something which is life churning. And I really think it is my knowledge of emotional intelligence which helped me to come out of all this. And today, yes, things are much better and looking up on the brighter side. So, this is what emotional intelligence is all about on the personal side, on the family side, on the professional side. We've had so many ups and downs. How will you define emotional intelligence? I leave it for you to define it. It could be leadership skills, it could be effective communication, it could be objective decision making, it could be keeping a balanced state of mind, it could be handling a crisis, so many things. But you know what Daniel Goleman says, coming back to Daniel Goleman, who I will be an ardent fan of, what he has done is he has measured the EQ of salespeople. Now, salespeople, their performance is very easily quantifiable. And he has measured the EQ. He has segregated the ones who had high EQ, and he has understood how their performance is. And what his findings say is that these salespeople are bringing in 120% more revenue than whom? Than the ones which average EQ, not only with low EQ. Average EQ performers and low EQ performers, 120% more results. So isn't EQ something which is amazing? It is amazing. And of course, today, when people go for interviews, nobody looks at their marks. Nobody says that, yes, you got a gold medal, so I'm going to give you this job. They all say, we are going to interview you and you will go through the several rounds. And that is something which is really good happening. But I was also reading another statement which was radical 2-3 days ago. Of course, now they say, corporates say, we won't look at marks. But another radical thing is they are saying we won't even look at degrees. We just want to see the candidate. Does the candidate have that X factor? And that X factor means emotional intelligence. So you do not have to necessarily be an MBA from the best of institutes to deliver. You can be an ordinary graduate and you can still deliver. You can be an average IQ person and you can still deliver. And we've had so many examples like that. History is replete with them. So we are coming to the corporate world also accepting all this. So this is what emotional intelligence is all about. In short, I think I must have exceeded my time. But yes, I will end over here and keep it open for question answers. Amy, can you lead the question answers, please?
From what you were just saying, a while back, you can define. It's not up to you to define, what emotional intelligence is, and I think there's no specific definition, but while you were speaking, I was trying to think of one, and the most general statement that I could come up with was, anything that you speak with your heart, I think that is emotional intelligence, right? Of course, you also need your brains to formulate the logic, but you have to use both your heart and your brains to address the situation. So that's just my comment.
Thank you so much. Yes, you're right. We need to speak with our hearts. You're absolutely right.
No doubt.
Also, even comments are welcome, if not questions. Please go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay, Ching.
Because you said that EQ is unlike IQ, you
Yes.
can change and you can increase EQ by a very significant level. So how do you help another person to increase his EQ level?
So your question is, if I hear it right, how do I increase my EQ if it's possible? Is that right?
Well, how do you increase your EQ? Which is, of course, you have to first realize that you are lacking, and then you want to learn. But how do you help another person who lack, confidence, lack communication skill? How do you help the person?
How do you help another person to increase their EQ?
Yeah, to improve their EQ.
Yeah, again, it is a very general question, and I'll only be able to answer it very generally. It needs to be more specific. But again, it will depend on what's, can you empathize? Like we are in social work, you, me. Can we empathize with that person to find out what's going on so that we can come to the same wavelength in our communication? Can we understand that person? Where is that person coming from? And then we can help that person to develop the emotional intelligence once we understand the wavelength. This is a very general answer which I can give you.
Yeah, for instance, the person might go for a counselor, get some life coach. Would that be a way to help?
It's very difficult to answer such a question. Very difficult. But as I said, let's just get on the same wavelength. Let's empathize with that person. And once you empathize, the person will start disclosing to you a lot of things. And then you can help him. Even self-disclosure, helping another person to disclose everything. It's an art. And if you're able to do it with your people with whom you're working in the social work field, then that itself will go a long way in developing their emotional intelligence. And respecting them. Respecting them. I remember in my college, there was a college professor in psychology who told me that individual differences will be there. Do not tolerate them. Accept them. Don't just accept them. Respect them. Everybody is different. Respect individual differences. And I think that's the key in social work. I'm sure you all are doing that because you're doing such fantastic work. Now you all are working with jail inmates, Amy tells me.
Yes.
Can we respect somebody who has been a criminal, who has been sentenced? It's a very difficult thing to do, but I'm sure you all are doing it. And that is part of your emotional intelligence, because you cannot help anybody unless you respect. You don't look down at a jail inmate. You have to be at the same level, isn't it? So that's part of the emotional intelligence.
In other words, it's one with high emotional intelligence to help another person.
To help. That's also true. Yes. Yes. Where's it?
Please, to the camera. Or you can be on.
It was a wonderful talk. I just have one question that
Sure.
EQ and IQ is now pretty clear to most of us after you clearly explained it. But is there something to do with demographics, say underdeveloped world, developed world, and races? Three things. Is there a study or some research done which clearly has some findings to show that maybe the underdeveloped world has more EQ than the Western developed world? Things like that. So does that also make a big difference in the whole EQ better or the EQ quotient?
I'm not getting the exact question. What
Okay.
you're saying is there is a difference between the underdeveloped world and the developed world. And are you saying anything about EQ in there?
Developed world works more hard for meeting their ends and living their life. So by default, these people may be having more higher EQ than IQ, right? Is there any studies or anything which is has mentioned these kind of findings?
No, not that I know of. I do not think we can generalize anything like that. I think if we go by Maslow's hierarchy, everybody knows Maslow's hierarchy, which says that food, clothing, shelter. So when you're talking of underdeveloped and developed world, yes, the first priority, the first need of a person is food, clothing, shelter. You cannot talk EQ to a person who doesn't have food, clothing, shelter. So that can be a key difference, I think.
Thank you.
So as social workers, we have to give food, clothing, shelter, and then talk of EQ. That's what I can say.
Thank you.
Sure.
So thank you for the question, Mahir. Any other questions from people on the line?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah, Stephanie, please step forward. Stephanie has a question. You may sit here or...
Okay. Hello, thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear your sharing today. I just have a question. I'm a parent. I have two boys. The one thing that bothers me, not really bothers me, but I just keep thinking, for example, my husband, he grew up in a super loving family. He got all the attention today. So I think his inner strength is super powerful, but socially he's just not very good. He has another friend who grew up in a very difficult family that, he suffered a lot in his childhood. But growing up, I just feel like he's so capable of doing a lot of things, handle difficulties very easily.
Hello，玉莲姐你好，玉莲姐，看不到你，听不到你，玉莲姐。
Jimmy, you are heard, so you should mute your mic if you have a private conversation.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Can you hear me? Yeah, just
Yes,
want
I can hear you.
parenting. What will be the best way, to develop the EQ or IQ for the kids? Because I do want them to be balanced, develop in a very balanced way.
Okay. So your question is, what is the best way I can help my kids to be emotionally intelligent, right? Yeah. Well, I think just allow them space and give them exposure to all different fields. Let them choose which field they are interested in. Give them time, give them space, let them grow, let them be happy with what they are doing. This is just very generally what I can say without pressuring them. We are always pressuring them and telling them that this is what is good for you. And you have to do what I am telling you. And this is what I have also done as a parent very often. But I think that's what we need to really avoid. And please, please, please do not go for grades and marks at all times. Do not pressure your kids for that.
Thank you very much. Because I think when I was young, the parents, my parents' generation, they like to give us lots of pressure, to make our life really kind of miserable. When I was young, so they said that like a not very happy childhood, maybe, when we facing a lot of difficulties at a younger age, so maybe when we grow up, we will be more capable. But I'm kind of confused right now. So whether I just give all the love I have and then be very tolerant with, even not very good at exams to accept it, or should I just pressure them to get a better result?
You'll have to find the balance. You will have to find the balance between love and discipline. It's always difficult. And there's no yardstick. And nobody can really give you a success formula or a magic formula. You'll have to devise it on your own, depending on your culture, your family, your children's likes, dislikes, etc.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Welcome.
Okay, good evening. I'm Cindy. I can see myself. I think the way to, we won't say train a person or to create awareness in somebody who is lack of EQ, is to show them unconditional love and never stop loving them. Like, for example, ask the person, what time are you coming back? Probably he gets very angry. You can say, I'm checking what time you're going back because I want to cook the super meal for you today. And he becomes more aware that, oh, he's not trying to check on me or trying to be funny. So, unconditional love. Don't compare your two children, one smarter than the other. Whether they're smart or not, your love must be equal. Then they will slowly show that, the EQ part of them will appear. I always tell my colleagues, my friends, a very funny story. If you know a mantou is a bun with no fillings. Then there is another meat bun. We call it the char siu bao. So there was one day, these two fellows went to watch a movie. And during the movie, the char siu bao, the one with the meat, was crying and crying and crying because it was a very sad movie. So at the end of the movie, they both came out. Somebody asked, how come both of you saw the same movie? One of you crying so badly, the other one was just normal. And then the one with the one who is the char siu bao said, because I have feeling. Feeling, it's in Cantonese, is the meat in me. The mantou, the bun, has got nothing in it.
No
So
feeling.
that's the difference between the IQ and EQ. Thank you.
Very nicely said, very nicely summarized. Yes, and
Please,
yes, everybody is different. Everyone is different. We need to respect. Very true. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy, for that question and sharing of the
Char siu bao.
the story.
The char siu
I
bao
shall
story.
steal that
I will
from
never
you.
forget it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a very good one. Excellent.
This food for the next meeting. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Darshana. I think that was excellent sharing. A lot of words of wisdom there, and I think we shall take away very important elements.
Good lesson. It's a very good lesson.
Yeah.
I think we
Good
learned a
lessons
lot.
from that.
We learned a lot.
So excellent. Thank you very much again,
Thank
Darshana,
you.
and thank you for
You're most welcome. Most welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.